Hi all, I'm Libby, proud captain of Millwall Lionesses. Thank you to our Millwall fan show from the No One Likes Us Talking team for sponsoring me this year. Make sure you give them a listen like I do. Or even better, why not sponsor a Lioness while you're at it like they do? Thank you always for your continued support.
This podcast is a proud member of the Fan Hub 100. Football without fans is nothing, so we've partnered with Fan Hub to put fans first. Search Fan Hub app to play your part in the journey.
Hi, I'm Bethany Warren, and you are joining me to listen to the podcast of our Millwall fan show with the No One Likes Us Talking team, which is available every Friday at 8 p.m.
It is the 14th show of COVID-19 reducing in lockdown 3.0 here in England. I'm your host, Eamonn Barclay, and I have the No One Likes Us Talking team of George Lampey, Stan Godwin, and Bethany Warren.
Not everybody likes them, but they don't care.
Firstly, before I turn to the panel, there are a few announcements.
All the guys at No One Likes Us Talking Towers would like to send their condolences to Her Majesty Queen Elizabeth and all the royal family on the passing of the Duke of Edinburgh, a man who dedicated over 70 years of service to our country, and among his many legacies, that of the Duke of Edinburgh's award scheme, which helped shape countless young lives with sport, outdoor pursuits and volunteer work. Rest in peace, Prince Philip.
The Lions Food Hub, based in the Rennie and Manor Estate Tenants and Residents Association Hall in Bermondsey, are looking for food and financial support. To help them, you can find Lions Food Hub on Twitter and Facebook, or enter Lions Food Hub Banquet, that's B-A-N-K, not a Q, B-A-N-K-U-E-T, into your browser, and you can make a one-off or a regular donation. Additionally, there is still quite some confusion surrounding the changing of passwords on the Millwall ticketing account. A club spokesperson said, as mentioned in the mail sent to supporters and in the news article, if you've already changed your password when the new system was installed in August 2020 or thereafter, you don't need to change it again. This is for those supporters who have never reset their password. Unfortunately, there is no way the club can filter out the email addresses of those who have changed their password already, which is why the email has had to be sent to everyone. Also, some are having difficulties renewing season tickets, so make sure you download the instructions and follow them. And if worst comes to worst, don't forget to get in touch with the Supporters Liaison Officer, Shona. Well, have you all got your season tickets? How about you, Bethany?
Me and Dad got ours really easily, actually. We're kind of glad we didn't really have to pay much for it as well, so thank goodness. It's really great what the club have been doing for the fans this year. So got ours, we're ready to go back. Happy days. Great stuff.
Bethany, what about the Rotherham game? Did you have any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, I'm really glad it was a 1-0 win. It was a really hard game to watch, I found. Well, hard for me in a couple of ways because I've just moved out, so it was the first time I was watching a game away from my dad, which I found really hard because we usually sit next to each other, so it was really weird not being together to watch it. But it was a hard game. But something that I have actually learnt from Dad is that as long as you win ugly, even if it's ugly, a win's a win, and he's absolutely right. You know, any win with there's not a bad chance of us still getting in the playoffs. It's still mathematically possible, so we can only go up from here. A win's a win.
A win is a win. The win is a win. George, you had a bit of difficulty getting your season ticket together, but Shona came to the rescue with you, didn't she?
She did indeed. Yes, shall I admit to being a bit stupid here?
It's up to you
I actually. Yeah, although I could get it cheap like all the rest of the guys who were, season ticket holders who had joined, I actually paid full price because I never ticked the box, and there you go. So, and as much as I loved this football club, I weren't going to give them 200 quid extra. So, I actually, Shona rang me on the Thursday evening of the bank holiday at gone 7 o'clock. So bless her heart. I mean, it just shows you that the girl's, she's really good. She did it in about 5 minutes for me and got me out of trouble. But I thought the fact that she was ringing that late when she should be, most people would be home and enjoying, looking forward to their Easter break. I thought said a great deal about her, actually.
That was good. What about that Stoke game then, George? What did you make of that?
Well, I think it's like all the games we play. We dig in, we try not, we're hard to beat. I'm surprised. I thought Stoke would be one of the outstanding teams this season with the financial support they have. But I just think every time I'm surprised by our own team, they just won't be beaten easily. And to get the win there is. I just think we're doing so well that I just can't praise everybody enough, to be honest.
Stan, I know you had a smooth securing of your season ticket, so I won't ponder on that one. But what I will ask is, what did you think about the use of Zahor in the first half against Stoke?
Well, he's not going to be fit, is he, to do 90 minutes? And you can either play him in the first half or the second half or a combination of whatever. But no, it was something. It was different, wasn't it? I suppose. But no, I think it worked out okay in the end. Because at the end of the day, he's got to get back into his fitness mode and one thing and another. So I think that it works out all right. Could have gone wrong, but it didn't. And at the end of the day, we come out with the right result. So we didn't do too much wrong, if that's the case.
No, 6 points out of 2 games is pretty good going, and
that's right.
It'll be interesting to see what our guests have to say about the game ahead at Swansea later in the show, because
it showed the value of Woods, didn't it?
Ah, yes, I think that's a good point to cover.
I think Woods is an excellent player. I think his problem's been this season, whereas last season he had Malumbi there, but this season he hasn't had Malumbi, and we've also had injuries and one thing and another. But I think he's the last few weeks he's coming back to something like the form he was at last season, and I've always thought he was a good player. Yeah. And these people that want him out, I just don't understand that at all.
Well, they want everyone out at one stage or another. That's part of the new end game for some people. Who can we want out now? But anyhow, perhaps we might even see Jason Malumbi returning to the Den if Brighton stay up in the top flight. We'll have to wait and see what happens there then. Anyhow, we're going to take a break there and be back with our first guest this evening. But for now, let's listen to what fantastic fanatics can offer our club.
Hi, I'm Richard Gordon, and I'd like to invite you to become a Fantastic Fanatic. Fantastic Fanatics is a great way to raise funds for your sports club. Sign up today, find your club, and securely register your everyday debit and credit cards. Every time you spend with our retail partners, they pay a percentage back to your club. It costs you nothing, and you could win cash prizes along the way. Visit fantasticfanatics.com and help your club be the best it can be.
I'm Eamonn Barclay, and I'm back with a No One Likes Us talking team of George Lampey, Stan Godwin, and Bethany Warren. My mate Reg signed up for Fantastic Fanatics online and raised £17.50 for the club when renewing his motor insurance. Ain't a bad return. You probably wouldn't get that if you went in the bookies. Our first guest tonight hails from Wallsend, and that is where he started playing his football in the northeast of England. A great production line of footballers including Alan Shearer, Peter Beardsley, Lee Clark, Mick Tate and our own Sean Hutchinson. During his professional playing career, he played as a winger or a central midfielder for Newcastle United, Millwall, Gillingham, Brentford and York City before he ended his career with Hartlepool United. During his footballing career, he made a combined total of over 500 appearances. He made 118 appearances and kept the bench warm on another 14 occasions for the Lions and scored 10 goals. He joined us from Newcastle United for £300,000 in November 1988 and left us to join Brentford for £30,000 in 1993. Currently, he is assistant manager of Scottish Premiership club Kilmarnock, working with manager Tommy Wright, the former Northern Ireland national goalkeeper. It's my pleasure to welcome Paul Stephenson to our studio tonight. Hello, Paul.
Hello, Ian. How are you?
Yeah, great. You sound well too. The rest of the team might say hello to you as well if
hello,
they think
Paul.
about
Nice,
it.
Paul,
nice to
how
meet
are
you,
you, mate?
Hiya.
Thank you very much, Bethany, Stan and George.
There you go.
Look forward to talking to you.
Yeah. But before I let them talk to you, I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. One is, was you at Hartlepool when old Brian Horn was there as well?
No, I wasn't.
You wasn't?
No.
Oh, well,
he was there before me.
I won't
He was
ask
there
you that
before
question
me.
then.
That's
But
all right, that's
we'll
good.
leave it like that. But they do say that the pies are very good at Hartlepool. But there you go. That's another question for another
I know
day.
what you're inferring there, but I'll let you infer it, not me.
Anyhow, Paul, we had the pleasure of a friend and fan of yours, Dave Donovan, talking to us about you recently on the show. Do you remember how that relationship evolved?
Yes, got too much time on your hands when you're a footballer, and I like a game of snooker in the afternoon if we weren't training, or pop in the bookies and have a lucky 15. And he recognised me one day in Welland High Street, and we just got talking. We hit it off from day one. Fantastic guy, fantastic family, Sandra and the children they've got, and we've always been close. We've kept in touch for years. He's been on the phone this week. He's hoping that, and me too, that we can get on a golf course up in Golf Heaven country up in Troon sometime when we can mix again. But how soon that is ahead of us, we don't know yet. But it's certainly something to look forward to. But we've got to make sure that we keep doing the job right in the football. That's the most important thing.
That's the biggest priority. Okay.
Definitely. Oh, definitely.
Hiya, Paul. It's Bethany. It's lovely to talk to you.
Thank you, Bethany. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. So you joined us in our first ever season in the top flight, known as the First Division in those days. Can you tell the listeners how that transfer came about and your thoughts on arriving at the Den?
Yes. When I was at Newcastle, there was a couple of Willie McFall gives me debut. I'd had a couple of seasons in Newcastle. I'd actually had a very good first season, and then I had unfortunately a horrendous injury last game of the season. So I had to come back from a really bad ankle injury, tore all the ligaments on the front of my ankle. And in that time, Willie bought a few other players, John Hendry, a few of the Crazy Gang, Andy Thorne, Dave Besant. And basically I had to, come back from that injury and fight for my place. And Newcastle in that time didn't come up with an offer. So I just went on a week-to-week contract, fought my way back into the team, which I was pleased about, and had some really good performances in the World First Division. And they still didn't really come across. I think, that old adage, local lads, and they used to say they got black and white eyes, he'd play for the club, you know what I mean? But at the same time, you've got to sort of try and have a future, and you've got to, you've got to think of trying to make a living. And they were quite happy for me to sit on pretty poor money at the time. And then with us being on a week to week, Millwall obviously had been watching us along with a couple of other clubs. And I had a few options on the table, and it was really John Doherty really who sort of sold the club to us. I mean, from the time he could speak to us, as long as the club knew, and he did. He jumped on a train with Bob Pearson and met me and my late father at Newcastle Central Station. We went across into the hotel, and I think all we did was talk about football. Never mentioned anything about finances. Just talked about football. he sold Teddy Sheringham and Tony Cascarino to us, two great target men. I just said to my dad, listen, I think I've definitely got to go down and talk to them. And then I went down and we sorted the finances out, and the rest is sort of just rolled on from there. I did know Brian Horn and I did know Neil Ruddock, which helped because I played for England under 18s a few times with them. And yeah, it was a big move for a young player, and it was probably tough in the sense that I'd never really been away from home before. But once I think I got settled in, I felt like I started to show what I could do. So it wasn't a bad first season.
Hi, Paul. George here. Nice to talk to you,
George.
Your first season saw us finish in 10th place. Who stood out for you player-wise in that side, and what were the team's faults ahead of a second season in the top flight?
I think it doesn't take long to find out that Teddy Sheringham was a pretty good player. When you see him in training every day, you see how good his awareness is, how his touch is, how he can bring people into the game, and how he can finish things off. I think it didn't take long to work out that this was a guy that was going to go and play at a really high level. You know, he really did have that touch of class about him, and I think obviously playing in that league and the team doing well helped him and gave him a lot of confidence as well. Obviously Cascarino was a real handful, and together they were pretty daunting task for centre halves to come up against. I think the only strikers I've played that actually passed the ball to each other with their heads. So. You know, but they were really had a really good relationship, and on and off the pitch, and I think they really stood out. In regards to the thoughts on the second season in the top flight, I think it's if you're looking historically, I think if you look at even like Sheffield United this year, and you look at a lot of teams that can surprise a lot of teams in that first season. And I think the key is probably keeping everyone together. I think we lost Cass, didn't we, in the second season?
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So we probably had to change a little bit as well in how we played, with just the one up there who's sort of really good in the air. So but I think when you've got like quite a small squad like we had, I think that second season it really told that when you lost your sort of key players to suspensions and injuries, and I always think back on that second season, and I remember we were actually causing a lot of teams a hell of a lot of problems, but we just couldn't seem to put them away, and we got done by the sucker punch quite often. So it was a frustrating one for everybody, I think. And I think the only thing that we probably could have done to avoid the drop would have probably been strengthening and probably have a slightly bigger squad. But it's all about finance at the end of the day, and you're competing against big clubs, so it was difficult.
Yeah, Paul, it's Stan here, mate. How are you? All right?
Hi, Stan. Good to hear from you. I'm fine, thank you.
Yeah, good. You was a stylish player who certainly made an impact and did a good few more in that side. What I would say is that you mentioned that Tony Cascarino had been sold by then. I mean, I know it's easy to say it, but if you're selling players like Cascarino, and plus all the other problems you've then got, it's not doing us any favours, is it? And perhaps he might have went down because he was a bit short-sighted in the thinking of the board and that.
Possibly. It's also difficult for clubs to hold on to players if they're getting really good offers from elsewhere. And I've no doubt that at the time Villa would have been able to offer Cass a really, a massively improved deal to what he'd been on at Millwall. So, it's there's a few issues that always come up when players do go. I mean, it's actually quite refreshing to see that Jack Grealish has stayed at Villa, because I've no doubt had he left, they might have had a tougher season this year. He's such a talisman and such a top player. I mean, I love. He's one of my favourite players to watch. I mean, especially now he's not going down in tackles and he's winning. He's winning games through beating people and he rides tackles. He really has, come on a ton this season. It's a shame that he's missed out the last few months, but it just shows how much they've missed him. Top player, and you do miss your best players. That's just a fact for every team.
So it's me again.
Hi, Bethany.
Our first season back in Division 2 saw us finish 5th and go to the playoffs. There were high hopes in going into the two-legged semi-final with Brighton. What are your memories of the playoff games, and can you tell us what happened?
Yes, massively frustrating. I think we played Brighton twice that season. I'm sure we beat them twice in the normal season. So we're going at that game obviously full of confidence. I think we scored first, but then we just had a crazy. I think we actually had a good chance. I think we had a goal ruled out to go 2-0. I don't think at the time we could believe did get ruled out, because there's nothing wrong with it when we look back on the video. But we just seemed to have a crazy 20 minutes, and it just put paid to the tie. Done a lack of concentration. They just upped the gear. But yeah, it was very disappointing, I must admit. And then even in the second game, we scored very early in the game. I think it was John McGinley, and you're thinking it's possibly on this, and I think we peppered them that half, but because we didn't get that second goal and really sort of make them nervous, really, because we didn't make them nervous and make a realistic chance of us catching them. I think that we just ran out of steam second half, and they caught one the counter again, and then I think once they got the a couple of goals, that it was just a mountain too high to climb. But it was, I think everybody was just shocked, really, more shocked than anything, because we did really fancy it, and like I say, it just didn't happen, and that can happen in football. It can just. The one-off games you see it in cups, and it's like they're just like cup games, aren't they? Two-legged cup games. Yeah. And unfortunately, we just didn't do ourselves justice. So massively disappointing.
It's George again, Paul. I can't get you on it. I can't get you on here without mentioning the Liverpool goal, can I? I mean, that would be just ridiculous. Do you want to take us through that? Because at the time, Liverpool were the team. They were the team to go to play, and for us to go there and you to score so quickly. It was just. Tell us what the day was like for you, mate.
Oh, it was an amazing day. I mean, I didn't know I was playing until the day, on the day. The doctor, named the team on the day. But luckily, me parents and me future wife were there, and it was amazing. I mean, also, you're right. It was a cracking team. That Liverpool side was a cracking side, and they were winning everything at that time. But I had been there 2 weeks earlier with Newcastle United and won 2-1, which was
right.
a very So it wasn't like me personally. I was saying this to the lads, look, we beat them a couple of weeks ago, Newcastle. It's, they're not invincible, and they weren't. I mean, and obviously, once we took the lead, and, that Teddy does that beautiful just hit me layoff, which again, just shows his, level of class. Once we took the lead, we were disappointed not to come away with 3, because, we would love to have turned them over.
Yeah. Yeah, in season 91-92, under Bruce Rioch, saw us from a low position of 22nd position. We ended up about 15th overall in the season. Rioch left in March. and then Mick McCarthy took over at the helm. Did you see that Real was going to leave, and what was the transformation like? With Mick taking over.
Yeah, it was. I think it was on the cards because Bruce obviously did have, he'd had one or two run-ins with a couple of the sort of more established players, let's say, and I don't think he probably, managed the group as well as he would have liked, and I think once when it's like that, if things aren't going well, it can slide. You see that in football, in any year. So, but unfortunately for him, that was sort of the end for him. And then Mick came in, took over, obviously the most senior player. And Mick was brilliant. I mean, me and Mick gone brilliant as players. He's a cracking fella. Still do nothing but look up to him and admire him now. What he's doing in management, he's a great example to anybody in management. But at the time, I got a bit of poor advice, I think, off an agent. I didn't have an agent after that. I just did my own stuff, did my own contracts. And I got a decent offer off the club. And Mick wanted to sign us, and I didn't sign it. My agent thought I was worth a bit more because I'd been playing well. And it got withdrawn, that contract. And then Mick actually went and played a diamond without wide players. So he had 4 midfield players in there, 2 strikers. So he found a new system. I was a bit more surplus to requirements, and then I had that's how my move to Brentford came about. Actually, in between that, I obviously didn't enjoy playing reserves football. I wanted to go and prove myself in first team football. So the late Glenn Roder, who again been a great mentor to me, will be missed dearly. He was my captain at Newcastle, and he was manager at Gillingham, and he took me down to Gillingham, which was down the road, and they were struggling at the foot of League 2 or Division 3 at the time, and I had a great 3 months there. Got back to enjoy my football again. Scored a few, made plenty, got them, helped Gillingham along with the rest of the lads. Had a good run, got back up to 7th or 8th off the bottom after being adrift at the bottom. So, and then Brentford came in. I ended up moving to Brentford. So, and another cracking little club. So, big club now.
Oh yeah.
But in a smaller stadium. The Killie have a big match on Saturday. It's being tabled as a 6-pointer between yourselves and Ross County, and there are not many games left in this season. Paul, how do you think you can? Can you avoid relegation at the end of this season?
Well, the answer is obviously yes, but talking is cheap.
Yeah.
And it's just about action in doing it, and we all know that from staff to players, and we will, be well prepared. We're only taking each game as they come. We've got 5 in the league, and we've got a couple of we've got a home game in the cup. So, we're just focusing on this game basically, George, and we need a big performance. It's as simple as that. But like I say, there's no point saying, we're going to do this, we're going to do that, ifs and buts. It's just about action now and doing it. And we've had a good couple of results.
Yeah.
And we've got a bit of momentum, and we've got to keep that momentum now. That's the key.
Yeah, had a good result against Motherwell there, I think.
Yeah.
And,
yeah. And our first game when we came in was against Motherwell, and we lost 1-0.
Yeah.
And we probably played better, in all honesty, without that taking chances and scoring goals. But and we just didn't get the breaks that night. We had over 32 crosses in general play, so we really did, play well against them that night as well. So, but yeah, it's just about looking at the next game, being prepared, and making sure that we do the business, and then you need them little breaks along the way.
Well, let's be hopeful for you. Before you go, Paul, it's a tradition on the show that guests provide a prediction for our next match. So what do you think the score will be when we face Swansea at the Den this Saturday?
Right. Well, I am hoping for my old Lions that Swansea continue their form, because they've had a poor run by the standards that they've set all season. And I'm going to go 2-1 Millwall.
Well, that sounds pretty reasonable to me.
I hope. So that would be great. My mate
crossed.
Dave will be pleased if that comes off as well.
Oh, I'm certainly will. I think everyone will be jumping up and down if that happens.
Millwall have done great this year, so.
Oh yeah, he's done a good job, old
they've done
Rowett. With actually a very small squad, and loads of injuries too.
Done even better than so. Done to them. No, it's been great. It's been great talking to you all, Bethany, Stan, George, and like I say, I wish Millwall can have a good finish along with Kilmarnock.
That'd be good.
That'll be good.
That'd be a double bubble, wouldn't it? That'd be great.
That'll be double bubbles.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's been brilliant.
Cheers, mate. Cheers.
Perhaps we'll get you back again another time. Cheers, Paul.
Okay,
bye.
Thank you very much. Bye.
Bye. We'll take a break there before we listen to what's ahead for Millwall Romans. But first, here is a close collaborator of Stan Godwin and Henry Morgan, Kai Bennett and his Millwall Fan TV.
Hello, I'm Kai. I run Millwall Fan TV. I have done for about a year and a half now. You can find me on Facebook, Instagram and Twitter. If you just search in Millwall Fan TV, I should come up. You can also find me on YouTube at Millwall Fan TV. I do pre-match predictions, post-match analysis and full-time reaction. I also try to do as many interviews on ex-Millwall players. I've done about 10 so far and I've absolutely loved every minute of it. Thank you so much for all your support. And if you want to subscribe to my channel, it's Millwall Fan TV. All your support is always massively appreciated. Thank you.
I'm Eamonn Barclay. I'm back with a No One Likes Us talking team of Bethany Warren, Stan Godwin and George Lampey. Great to listen to Kai. He's now reporting regularly on the online soccer journal Vavel.com and also with the South London Press via London News Online. Check him out. Before we move on, let's hear from Millwall Romans with an update on their games ahead.
So it's Tom Baker again here from Millwall Romans. And today I have with us our captain, Jay Lemonius. How are you doing, Jay?
Very good, thanks, Baker. Good.
Yeah, I mean, how are you feeling about returning to the season? Are you excited to be back playing after lockdown?
Yeah, incredibly excited. I think it's been particularly sort of tough year, obviously, but in particular the start of, I think 2021 has been a tough year for most, sort of coming out of Christmas and hitting sort of January. I think it's just felt a bit of a slog for everybody. So I think everyone's kind of missed that, not just the football element, but kind of missed that sort of community vibe and cohesion that we have as a squad. And I think even just the training sessions that we've had since we've started back up, it's just been really good to see everybody, and you can tell that it's sort of really lifted people's moods. So yeah, really excited to just be back playing football, and yeah, really excited to kind of, I guess, be back playing competitive football as well at some stage.
Yeah, we restart our league this weekend, and it's kind of a bit different how they're restarting it because we're not picking up from where we left off. So Jay, can you talk to us slowly, because it's slightly complicated, but can you talk to us a little bit about how the league is restarting and how essentially the league is going to be decided?
Yeah, so as you mentioned, I think they've tried to make it a bit more complicated than it could have been. But bless them, I think the league's done a really, really great job in trying to figure out what works best for all teams. Considering, we obviously started as a club, we were probably in the best position. So I think no matter what happened, we were always going to probably potentially not have been in the same place as we were previously, just because it needed to kind of be fair for all teams. So I think what they've done is, instead of kind of hosting or just completing the remaining fixtures that most teams had, because different teams were at different stages. They just thought they'd start a completely new season and not neglect what we did last season, but kind of use a points per game basis, and then just play with every team in the league once, either home or away, and then at the end of that sort of round robin, calculate all the points and then do a points per game basis of what happened previously, add it all up, and then we'll have our league winners hopefully by the end of that. So I think they've done a great job in trying to figure out what works best for all teams, because ultimately I think it's been really difficult for all teams. There's going to be complications with pitches, particularly this late on in the year. So I think what they've tried to do is try to make it as fair as possible, as convenient as possible for all teams. And I think they seem to have landed somewhere where it makes sense. But I think for us, it's not just about kind of winning the league. I guess it's obviously our ambition, but I think for most of the players and the teams in the league, they just want to kind of get back and playing football, and then launch themselves into the summer in a bit more of a positive outlook and feeling.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, in terms of our growth as a club, this has been a really big year for us, as we've spoken about before on the podcast, moving and merging obviously with Millwall, and our form obviously before lockdown was really good. You know, the training sessions have been paying off. We'd won every single game. Do you think we can maintain that early season form and kick on our growth as a club, or do you think the lockdown has changed our priorities towards the end of the season?
Yeah, I think it's a good question. I think it'll be probably a bit of a mix of both. I think what would be quite harsh is just for us to, I guess, get back to playing after months and months and months off, where people have had other additional stresses. It's been difficult to kind of keep fit, keep active, keep in touch. So obviously we've had a couple of training sessions since we've been back, but I think it'd be a bit harsh to kind of expect every single player to kind of hit the ground running, and as a team expects us to kind of really hit the heights that we kind of ended or started the season on. So it's always going to be difficult, but I think we're quite lucky as a squad. We're quite a close bunch, and we've got a great atmosphere and a great environment where we allow our players. I feel like we allow our players to not be afraid to make mistakes, not be afraid to have bad performances, because it's natural. And I think where that's kind of stood us in good stead in the past is that we've allowed players, and as a team we've allowed ourselves to kind of play ourselves into form. So I think we've got a fair handful of fixtures coming up. So we've got enough time to potentially not just in a training pitch, but play ourselves into form effectively, and I guess try and enjoy our football and do it that way, as opposed to placing a lot of restrictions and discipline on kind of how we want our performances and results to go. I think it's, whilst we want to continue the form that we were on and continue the results that we were on, I think it's just as important for people to enjoy their football at this stage, and then build a platform that we can launch onto next season as well.
Yeah, I think that's it. I was going to say it's a nice way for us to kind of play ourselves into form, ready to go next season, because the break's going to be shorter anyway. It's kind of a nice way to really build towards a season which we're obviously all really hopeful will be played right through without any restrictions. So yeah,
exactly. And I think we've been, another thing that's kind of another lesson that we've learned, and particularly since talks about Project Restart is happening, is just how lucky we are to have Millwall and the facilities that we do have. So for us, it was really important that we took a step back, because we didn't have any restrictions on being able to host fixtures, or we've got that flexibility because we've got the backing of the club, whereas there are other clubs in the league who they have restrictions and they have difficulties and complexities in being able to host home fixtures. So I think for us it was just kind of realising actually we're in quite a privileged position to be able to kind of support any fixtures that we need to kind of deliver, whereas not all clubs have that kind of privilege. So Absolutely. We've been really, really grateful for that.
Yeah, if we were in our old place, we'd be at the mercy of obviously whether the sports centre could even open. So we are incredibly lucky now. And speaking of Millwall, big game. There's still some playoff hopes there. They've got Swansea at home this weekend. Swansea obviously on a rather bad run of form. They haven't scored in 3 or 4 games. What do you reckon? What are you going for?
Yeah, I think it's a tricky one. I've been trying to keep up as much as possible, and I think Swansea obviously kind of got off to a pretty good start to the season, but yeah, we're in touch and distance of the playoffs. I guess it's probably the opposites of forms at the moment, but I think I'm going to go for a Millwall 2-0 win, and sort of bring us closer to Swansea in the table and kind of continue that playoff push, I think.
Yeah, I think I agree. I'm going to give Swansea, I'm going to give them breaking the goal drought. I'm going to go 2-1 Millwall.
All sounds positive there. Yet another 2-1 win prediction, or a 1-0, but it looks like we're going to win by a goal in everybody's mind. The Romans are away this weekend. They're facing the Titans, and next week we'll hear how that match went. It was also good the Millwall Lionesses registered a comfortable win last weekend in a battling friendly against Hackney Lionesses. Our sponsored player, Libby Stubbs, or Stubbsy, got the one on the score sheet too. So well done, one and all. Our second guest tonight joins us as fan in the dugout. He began his life in Brockley and now hails from Bromley. He recently shot to fame on YouTube and Twitter with a collation of Millwall goals he had mustered on his YouTube channel. And tonight we're delighted to welcome the one and only Jonesy to our studio. Hello, mate. How are you?
How's it going, Eamonn, mate? Thanks for having me on, mate.
Oh, we're delighted to have you on. Even the others might say hello to you in a minute. You never know.
Hello, Jonesy. All right,
I already said hello to him.
Oh, dear. Only in passing. So, how did you bring this great compilation of Millwall goals together on YouTube? How did that come about?
So about 10 years ago, I found on eBay someone selling DVDs of the Millwall season reviews, and I just bought, I think it was 1987 till early 2000s, and they've just sat on a shelf since I bought them. I've never watched them, but I've been going on YouTube and searching for this one goal by Paul Shaw against Wigan. I don't know if you're familiar. I think it might be 97. Yeah. And it never ever got uploaded. And then through lockdown, I've just had loads of time, and I just thought I'm going to go through them. And then one thing led to another, and I just started uploading them all and found that Paul Shaw goal. And yeah, it just picked up really. And I didn't put it out on Twitter or anything. Someone found it and put it on House of Fun. And that was it. It just picked up from there, and I was getting a lot of nice messages from fans saying that they've been looking for this goal and that goal for 20 odd years and things like that. So yeah, it's been good.
Yeah, well done.
Nice. Hiya, Jonesy, it's Bethany here. It's lovely to talk to you.
How's it going, Bethany?
Hiya. So how did you actually start coming to the Den? What actually hooked you, and what's your earliest memory?
So my earliest memories is running around the old Den, but I don't actually remember any football from the old Den. I just remember running under the yellow bars on the terraces and being outside the front. But I was born in '87, so I was 5 or 6 when we left the old Den. But the new Den was my first game. I remember at the new Den was against Peterborough, I think in '94. Which is, I think we won 1-0, which I always thought was a Jamie Morley goal, but it was actually an own goal. But then my main memory for when I was a kid was going to Southend away, which was '94 as well, I think, with my dad. And my dad used to know, I think it was the head scout at Southend. So we got invited up, me and my brother, and the game got postponed on the night. Waterlogged pitch, I think, but we was allowed to go to Roots Hall and run around the stands and all that. And then we got invited back, and that was my first away game, and I was probably about 6. And then I think after that, just caught the bug, and then obviously had the old Wembley game, and then from there it just went on. Yeah.
Hi, Jonesy. It's George here, mate. How are you?
How's it going, George?
Yeah, not bad. There's a story about a strange encounter that you had with Alex Ray when you were a youngster. Do you want to enlighten us about that one?
Yeah, so that's the same game, the Southend game away. So because my dad knew the head scout, after the game, I think it was a 1-1 draw, we was allowed to go down and get our programme signed by all the players. So we went and met him at like a little side door, and we were standing outside the changing room, waiting to go in, and someone's opened the door and walked out. And as the doors open, I just seen Alex Ray, and I don't know how to explain it. He was basically doing a windmill with his private areas. It's a memory I've never forgot, to be honest. I was a young kid, and then we got to go inside and get all our programmes signed. But I've just always remembered that. So, and I loved Alex Ray, but not for that reason.
Jonesy, stand here, mate. Great to talk to you with you, Jonesy. You have followed the Lions for a good few years. I would be interested to know what was your favourite period and why.
This is a hard one. I think I've lived in such a good era for Millwall. It's just such a hard thing to pin on one time, really. But if I was pushed, I'd probably have to say, although I didn't manage to get a ticket for the final, it'd have to be that sort of era, like the FA Cup run. And the Europe and things like that. I just remember the excitement, and I was getting into my teenage years then, going on my own and things like that. Done my first Northern away game around about that sort of time as well. So that's probably my favourite period. And just watching Neil Harris and Paul Eiffel, those my two favourite players when I was a kid. So yeah, that is probably my favourite period.
Coming back to this season, mate, what are your thoughts on our current team in the Championship and your thoughts under the management of Gary Rowett?
I felt like I got a bit of stick actually early in the season because I actually was one of the people saying get him out because I think at the beginning of the season we was just playing the worst style of football. It was so boring, weren't we? We weren't even shooting. We weren't even getting shots on goal. It was so dire to watch. But I actually can admit I was wrong, and I think he's actually found a formula which is looking quite good at the minute, to be honest. I quite like Jed and Mason Bennett up front. And I think George Evans has been an outstanding buy. I think he's one of the best players I've seen at Millwall in a few years.
Yeah, he's made a big impression, old George. There's no doubt about it. You live quite close to where old Richard Sadlier lived in Bromley when he was at Millwall. Have you any memories of that time?
Well, when he had the House of Sin.
Oh, well, he never quite mentioned it as being the House of Sin in that book of his, but the things he describes could easily be accredited. That sort of picture. Yeah.
Well, when he was playing, I would have been from the ages. I've probably been about maybe 12, 13, and I think he probably stopped by about 16, 17. So I was probably a bit young to experience it. But all I'll say is I know a few guys, a few friends, older friends that actually did go around there for a few parties.
Yeah.
And I think there was one night where they just turned up there and he didn't even know who they were. And he just come down the stairs and was just like, whatever, lads, I'm Richard Sadlier. Have a good time. So I think he was quite open to the parties.
In reading his book, it tells a very interesting story of that time and how it was all being managed or not managed. But nonetheless, he was a great loss when we said goodbye to him through injury.
I've done my 1,000th goal this morning that I've uploaded. And I've got to say, just going through some of the players, you forget how good some of them actually were.
Yeah.
Like Paul Eiffel was like I said, he was one of my favourite players when I was a kid. And I just completely forgot how much I liked him when I was. Yeah. And luckily enough, he's been quite good with I've been tweeting him the goals and that. And there's a couple of them that have been replying to me, and that he's been brilliant with it. And he's enjoying and like obviously going down memory lane, you know.
No, it's good when they do that.
Mm.
So it's been lovely catching up with you, Jonesy. But before we say goodbye and until next time, it is a tradition for us to ask all of our guests for a prediction for the next game. So what do you think the score will be when the Lions play Swansea this weekend?
Do you know what? So I think I'm going to go for a cheeky win and to put a little bit of pressure on the playoffs. Hey, why not? It's still mathematically possible. So
Yeah.
why not keep trying?
Who are you going to go? What score are
I'm
you
going
going
to go 2-1. I'm going to go for. Hopefully, a little Scott Malone goal. I called Scott Malone to sign for Millwall about 6 months before he came, and I thought he'd be a brilliant signing. So, when he signed, I was so happy about it, and he's gone on. He's had a great season.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
He's our best attacking player, and he's our left back. So,
says something.
Well, thank you, Jonesy. We really wish you all the best. So take care and stay safe.
Oh, thanks very much. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, cheers, Jonesy.
Bye, Jonesy. Cheers, mate.
Thanks a lot, guys.
Bye.
Cheers. Thank you very much. Cheers.
Bye.
We'll take a break there before we look ahead to our up-and-coming fixture. But for now, here's me, Bethany Warren, talking about a great story that is born out of the passing of a goalkeeping star of women's football, Jordan Dawes, and her cousin's efforts to raise money in her memory.
Hi, Bethany Warren here. Millwall fans Danielle and James will be running the London Landmark Half Marathon in August, in memory of Danielle's cousin, Jordan Dawes. Listen to Danielle tell her story.
Hello, so I am running the London Landmark Half Marathon in August. While training for Tough Mudder, which I'm doing in September, I feel I got the bug for running. I wanted to give myself a challenge, and while raising money for Eleanor. Jordan's memory lives on forever, and as a family, we honour her memory by giving back to the charities that gave their care and support during the darkest of times. Jordan lost her battle to cancer in 2019. She was a keen footballer, playing for the likes of Charlton Athletic, Gillingham, and ending her football career at Kent Football United. One of the most memorable times for me and the family when watching Jordan play was when she actually saved a penalty in a cup final, leading Kent Football United to win. She was an infectious person to be around. Her smile lit up the room. She was keen in talking to James about Millwall. She would come with us as of when she can. And the last game that she actually went to was the FA Cup game against Everton, where Millwall actually spoilt her, made her feel really special. She was able to meet some of the players, have her pictures taken with the keeper at the time, and was actually given the treatment of being able to go into the exec lounge as well. The way that people can donate, and we really would appreciate if anyone can, big, small, whatever it is through my pinned tweet on Twitter. My Twitter handle is DannyL1206, and that is DANNIL1206. Or you can go through Just Giving website, that is justgiving.com/fundraising/Jordan Dawes Half Marathon. Just want to thank everyone for taking the time to listen and anyone that donates. So thank you.
What a story, and what a lovely couple Danielle and James are in doing this together. So, if you can help, you can just put James and Danielle fundraising for Eleanor, that is ELLENOR, into your browser, and the Just Giving page will be shown. I'll say that again. Just put James and Danielle fundraising for Eleanor, that is ELLENOR, into your browser, and the Just Giving page will be shown. Thank you. A link will also be in our announcements on Facebook and Twitter.
Well, I'm Eamonn Barclay, and I'm back with a No One Likes Us talking team of Bethany Warren, Stan Godwin and George Lampey. Eleanor is a Kent-based care service who for children and young adults extends to the London Borough of Bexley. They are the only charity in the Kent County who provides hospice care for people of all ages. Their care includes pain and symptom relief, palliative care, end-of-life care, respite, bereavement support and emotional and spiritual care. If you can support Danielle and James's efforts in memory of Millwall fan Jordan, you will make a difference. Well, it's time to look ahead to what's coming up for our Lions. But first, we'll hear from that Twitter and Facebook video sensation, Ellis Barr.
Hi everyone, Ellis here. Thanks for watching my videos and thank you for all the support. But now it's time to look ahead to your next match. Come on, Nero!
Well, thanks, Ellis. Looking forward to your main video release. Sooner the better, I say. Our Henry Stato Morgan is up next with Phil Clark as the fan from the opposition. Let's hear what they have to say ahead of our 12:30 kick-off this Saturday against Swansea.
Good evening, welcome to View from the Opposition. This evening, unfortunately, we couldn't get a Swansea City fan again. So, we dug around South Wales and we found the one and only Phil Clark.
Hi Henry, how are you doing? Everything okay?
I'm very good. Are your Cardiff City friends ever going to speak to you again for doing the Swansea part of this podcast?
I'll probably get lynched. Yeah.
Okay, well.
But I'm just standing in for my friend. Let's put it that way. But I'm not too sure if I can call him a friend, really, if he's a Swansea City fan.
Oh, well, yeah. No, the Jacks and the Bluebirds, swimming away from each other since 1979, I believe. Look, Swansea coming into the game, lost 1-0 at home to Preston for their last... in their last match. Currently sitting fourth, though, 120, lost 10, drawn 9. On a poor run of form, though, coming down to the Den. Who do Millwall need to be wary of, Phil?
So I think their best players at the moment on form are the central defender, Cabango. He was very unlucky not to be starting in the last Wales match. He's a really good player. And the midfielder, Matt Grimes, he's doing well this season. And he's one of the few that are actually in form right now.
Okay, so good midfield. So we're going to need our midfielders to be on point to try and shut those particular players down. Millwall come into this on a fairly decent run of form. I think only lost 3 times in the last 17 matches. We obviously spoke towards the beginning of that run when we were playing Cardiff, and I think there were still some question marks about Gary Rowett's future at that stage. There were certainly people at Millwall who even now are still questioning whether he should be in charge because they don't like the style of football, even though players are playing at full tilt once every 4 days and must be absolutely exhausted. Not quite sure what they expect from Championship players, but anyway, Swansea City's season looks like it's been up and down, but they do look like they're slipping away. Have you got any other information that that things Millwall need to be wary of? Was there anything in particular from maybe their games with Cardiff that you may have picked up on that should be particularly worrying Gary Rowett basically coming into the game?
Swansea City have always been a possession side. Good coaching. Steve Cooper has come in. He's done well over the last year or so. Former under-17s England World Cup winning coach as well. That's Keith Cooper's son, by the way, ex-Premier League referee. And he's actually from my hometown, Pontypridd. He wasn't much of a player when I used to play, but he soon got into coaching, and I think that was his thing. But yes, they're definitely a possession side. So I think most teams who play against them don't have the lion's share of possession. And I certainly think they'll be looking to get back to winning ways, or at least stop the losing streak come this next game against Millwall.
Which is interesting because Millwall don't mind sitting back and allowing possession to be had by other teams, if that makes sense. So it's interesting. We haven't got a great record against Swansea over the last sort of 20 years or so. I think very much they've kind of had the upper hand, which started with a disastrous evening in South Wales when I was about 18 years old in 1998 for a first round FA Cup match where we managed to lose 3-0. In the pouring rain. I had a banging headache because I've been sitting on a coach having drunk bottles of Stella all the way down.
Was that the old Vetch?
That was at the Vetch, yeah. Obviously not at the Liberty Stadium, which is, just not the same, really, same as an Indian Park.
Yeah.
No, I think it will be an interesting game for Millwall. I mean, obviously there are faint playoff hopes for us. I mean, Swansea really looking to maintain their playoff push if you look at the table.
Yeah, I think obviously the way things were going initially, start of the season for Swansea, you were looking at possibly overtaking Norwich top spot. They had quite a few games in hand at one stage. And all of a sudden now they find themselves just trying to cement their place in the playoff positions instead.
Interesting. Okay, the pedigree's there. Listen, thank you so much for stepping in at the last minute and talking all things South Wales sport. If we ever have a match against Pontypridd, I'll make sure that I'll get you on as well, or indeed Aberdare Town, who you play for. But yeah, listen, thanks for coming on, fella, and maybe we can get the Swansea mush on to give us a chat for a review.
Yeah, that'll be great. I'll pass on the information.
Wonderful. Thank you very much, Phil. Appreciate it.
Cheers. All the best.
Bye.
Well, isn't it nice to get an authentic Welshman on?
Yeah, lovely.
It is when we're playing Welsh sides. And Phil has got a wonderful knowledge of all things Wales and the teams there. Well, there were some interesting facts and views there. Does any of it affect your thoughts ahead of the game?
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure we're going to go into this with a win. I think the confidence of the team is definitely going to have grown, and obviously the track record of Swansea at the moment, but they are going to be itching for that win. So, as with Millwall, when they're doing really well, then something happens and they don't. So it could go either way, but I'm still pretty confident we're going to win.
Well, personally, I'm confident we're going to beat Swansea. I don't think they're going to be the problem that some people might tend to think they are, but I think at the moment we've got everything to play for, haven't we? Mathematically, we're still not out of the playoffs.
Yeah.
Arguably, people could turn around and say, "Well, it's not likely." They may well be proved right in the end. But whilst it's mathematically possible, right, there's everything to play for.
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm confident. I'm just confident we're going to do it.
I'm quite surprised Swansea have had a little bit of a bad patch because, as the chap was saying, I remember that they were on a point of overtaking Norwich at one time, I believe. Yes, so the only thing that worries me about this is that they're a nice footballing team. They pass well, and if they're on a bad run, they're going to be trying even harder. So that's the only thing that bothers me about Saturday, to be honest.
Okay, predictions?
I think we'll win by the odd goal.
Okay.
I'm going to go 2-1. Same as most.
Another 2-1, eh?
Yep.
And I'm going to go for a 2-2 draw.
Hey, 2-2 the Lily White Boys. That's a bit worrying because that's what their colours are.
When was the last time, George, you predicted a win? I'm seeing it. And
cut him off, Eamonn. Cut him off.
No.
Well, I can't remember when it's always a draw. Right? I can't.
Win, lose or draw.
You'd have to research that, Eamonn, I think.
I think we'll have to go back on the books. On the books. Mari West from Millwall Fans Home and Away on Facebook did send in a prediction, and she made it Millwall 3, Swansea 1. So that's the biggest gap that we've heard tonight. Anyhow, it's heavily laden towards us winning with one draw specialist in the dugout. But I think the point was made last week, really, by Carl Bates when he said it's got to be go and get the highest position that we can possibly get. Because the financial returns, the higher up that table you get to, are well worth it. So it was Cole's view that Gary Rowett will look to get to the highest position he possibly can. And I don't blame him. And that's nice this week because we're not going to have a game every 4 days like Henry mentioned. We've got 7 days off before we go to the new luxurious stadium that exists in West London at Brentford. Don't forget, you can hear Henry reviewing Saturday's match, and links will be available on our social media sites and Spreaker. We'll take a break there for a continuingly important message from Patricia Maslin, with an introduction from that most famous of Wembley mascots, Harvey Brown.
Hello, Harvey Brown here. I missed my football at the Den. Did you know Millwall Community Trust are continuing to help people of all ages from different walks of life and are doing so much good in these tough times? But they need our help. Here's Patricia to tell you more.
Oh, thank you for that intro, Harvey. Millwall Community Trust appreciates your support. You are a star. Hi, Patricia Maslin here. Whether you're an organisation with bodies able to assist or an individual, the Trust needs you during the current conditions to support the vulnerable and needy. If you can help make a difference or need help, please contact Sean Daly, the Trust's Chief Executive Officer, by phone on 07 958 027060. Once again, that's 07 958 027060. Or contact by email sdaly, I'll spell that, SDALY, at millwallcommunity, all one word, .org.uk. I'll repeat that, sdaly, SDALY, at millwallcommunity, all one word, .org.uk. If you can, or you know someone or any organisation who might be able to help, please let the Community Trust know. Thank you.
I'm Eamonn Barclay, and I'm back with a No One Likes a Talking team of Bethany Warren, Stan Godwin and George Lampey. There's something you might need to watch out for. Stan is going to bring some interesting facts to the Facebook and Twitter arena about the Community Trust over the next couple of weeks. So watch out for Stan's post on the Millwall Community Trust. People continue to lose their lives to this dreadful virus or as a consequence of suffering with it. Deaths and infections are still significant but are reducing, and many people still continue to be hospitalised too. Our thoughts go out to the victims, their families, friends and those that take care of them.
There are so many fans who want to support the club, and you can help by joining the Lions Loyalty Club. It costs £40 with benefits. For £25, you or a member of your family can also be a crowdie, and why not sponsor a player's kit at the discounted rate with benefits? You can also obtain a virtual mascot package for £104. And watch out for our virtual match sponsors packages, which you can purchase from the Millwall Commercial Department. All the details and more can be found on the Millwall website. Lastly, don't forget iFollow returns to our screens with Carl Bates and Max McLennan Saturday week when we face Brentford at their new stadium. 100% of what you pay, less taxes, for the internet streaming service, home or away, goes back to Millwall Football Club. What a wonderful way to improve their revenue in these challenging times. The Swansea game at 12:30 this Saturday has been selected for international viewing and is only available to view on Sky.
Next Friday, Gary Staff returns to the Promised Land to host Patricia Maslin, Henry Morgan and Dave Hart. In the meantime, Scott Johnson, the founder of the Proper Blokes Club, is still looking for guys to come along and join him to break the stigma of men's mental health with walk and talk groups. Group walks now take place on Thursdays and Sundays, once again from HMS Belfast. Check out the Proper Blokes Club on Twitter and Facebook for further details.
Don't forget Millwall Lionesses and Romans are now playing football under the current restrictions. Nevertheless, these games are currently not open to supporters. The Lionesses are having open training sessions for prospective new first-team players, which commenced on the 7th of April. You will need to register interest on a form which is available on their Facebook or Twitter sites to attend. Millwall Romans return to training and potential joiners are welcome. Make contact through either, once again, their Facebook or Twitter sites. Both teams train and play their home games at that most excellently managed Millwall Community Trust site at St Paul's Sports Ground, Salter Road, Rotherham, London SE16. And you could be playing there too. Good night and be safe, everybody.
Lastly, let's not forget to keep it safe on the streets out there. Follow the lockdown 3.0 reducing guidance, social distancing when outside, and a face mask where necessary. That's it from me. Thanks, Bethany, Stan and George. Until the next time, good night.
Good night.
Good night all.